So today I want to talk about car sharing, and I thought maybe some of you are not too familiar with the idea. So I'm going to start with the introduction to car sharing. What is car sharing? Car sharing is a type of car short-term rental service usually charged by minute or hour, and membership needed to access. So you need to register for the service to use the service, and pick up and drop off a month. So you don't have to talk to anybody to use the car. All you need to do is open the app, see the availability, book it, use it. That's it. In terms of systems, there are two types. One is round trip. User need to return the vehicle to the original pickup location. This is more like traditional type of car sharing. Second type is one way. User need to return within the service zone at permitted parking locations. So you don't have to return it back to the original location. You just need to park somewhere within the service zone. Why I'm studying about car sharing? Because it's getting more popular. This shows the member growth in Americas. Americas include Brazil, Mexico, Canada, and United States. And in 2003, the membership was 32,000, and it increased to 1.6 million in 2014. Same thing is happening in terms of number of cars, and the same trend is seen in Asia and other continents as well. Why car sharing is getting really popular? One of the reasons is because advanced information and communication technologies like smartphone and internet and GPS. It's very easy and convenient to use the car sharing service nowadays. All you need to do is use your phone, open the app, check the availability, use it, return it. And local government actually support the service because they think car sharing is an affordable and a more sustainable mobility option. And their expectation is actually right. So there are many reports saying that car sharing users, they reduce vehicle driving distance, they contribute to cut greenhouse gases, and then they reduce vehicle ownership. So their expectation is right. However, those numbers are coming from observation among early adopters of round-trip car sharing. As I said before, there are two types, round-trip and one-way car sharing. And one-way car sharing is getting really popular, and nowadays a quarter of all car sharing vehicles are capable of providing that one-way service. But these existing studies, they ignore the one-way car sharing services or those new type of car sharing services. And also, in that some car sharing users actually increase vehicle dependency after joining car sharing. But there are a number of car sharing users who actually reduce vehicle dependency drastically, so that in total, the benefit of car sharing is positive to the society. But the key is the balance between people who use car sharing as a substitute of private cars and people who use car sharing as an additional mobility. Therefore, in my PhD study, I decided to, so we do not know the effect of one-way car sharing or new car sharing services, and we do not know how late adopters react to car sharing. So I decided to study about this in my PhD thesis. And study area, I decided to study in Vancouver because I study here at UBC. I came here from Japan all the way, so I wanted to study in Vancouver. And it turned out Vancouver is one of the best places to study about car sharing in the world, because there are many reasons, but one is long car sharing history. The first successful car sharing in English-speaking world started here in Vancouver. It started as a CAN, Cooperative Auto Network, in 1997. The name changed to Modo. It's actually started as a graduation project as a master's student at SFU, and it get very popular, and nowadays Modo is one of the biggest car sharing service in the world. And at the time of the launch of Modo, City of Vancouver actually helped. So they made first bylaw to loosen parking requirement by car sharing. This type of regulation is implemented for the first time in the world. This happened in Vancouver. Currently, we have 4 car sharing services, which is an amazing number. There are not too many cities which have 4 different car sharing services. And the 4 car sharing services offering 2,000 car sharing vehicles, which is again, amazing number. I listed up the 4 car sharing services available in Vancouver here. The top 2 are one-way car sharing systems, Car2Go and Evo. And bottom 2 are Zipcar and Modo. Those are two-way car sharing systems. Let me show you some data. Here is the data related to car sharing in North America major cities. Major cities, I selected cities with population over 500,000 and also a population density over 2,000. So I think we have 13 cities here, and ordered by population right now. So let me be ordered by car sharing cars per 10,000 people. Now, Vancouver comes to the top. There are about 40 cars per 10,000 people in Vancouver. And actually, City of Vancouver's survey found out 26% of survey participants are using car sharing service in the region. The number is continuously growing. So maybe make more sense to now study about car sharing in Vancouver, hopefully. So for my PhD study, I have 4 different topics: greenhouse gas impact of car sharing, vehicle ownership reduction by car sharing, diffusion of car sharing, and nudging car sharing members to better behavior. And I already used 5 minutes to talk about the introduction part, and apparently I cannot cover all of them. So for today, I will talk about the second one, vehicle ownership reduction by car sharing. But I already published the paper for the first topic and fourth topic. I'm more than happy to share the paper. And the second and third one, I already summarized as a manuscript, and it's under review. But I'm more than happy to share the manuscript if you are interested in. And if you want to just know the summary, I'm more than happy to talk about that. But for today, let me focus on the second one, vehicle ownership reduction by car sharing. And remember, car sharing is used as a measure to reduce vehicle ownership by local government. And existing studies lack vehicle ownership reduction by one-way car sharing. So that's the key part. So what kind of data I used for the study? We got data from Metro Vancouver. We are so lucky to have one planner at Metro Vancouver. He was very happy to share the data, so I had access to the original data. Metro Vancouver did a survey in 2013, asked questions about demographics, household characteristics, job, car ownership, trip types, etc. to car sharing users in the region. And the car sharing means they covered 3 car sharing services listed here: Car2Go, Modo, and Zipcar. The reason why we are missing the 4th car sharing service, Evo, is because they started in 2015 and the survey was done in 2013. And Car2Go is one way, and Modo and Zipcar are round trip, 2 ways. We got over 3,000 valid responses from car sharing users. And as you can see here, we got many responses from Car2Go users and Modo users, but we didn't have too many responses from Zipcar users, because Car2Go and Modo, they provided the survey link via email, but Zipcar just tweeted about it, so not too many people got interested in it. Because of this sampling issue, I decided to focus on the left side 3 groups: people who use Car2Go only, people who use 2 services which are Car2Go and Modo, and people who use Modo only, and compare. So first of all, this is the summary of housing characteristics, demographics, and car sharing of the 3 groups. And for your information, I put some Vancouver average, City of Vancouver average when it's available. Let me focus on some variables. So in terms of household with children, 15% of Car2Go only users are living with children, while 24% of Modo only users are living with children. How about frequency of usage? 31% of Car2Go only users are saying they use the service very often, while only 20% of Modo only users are saying they use the service very often. It seems the 2 groups has a little bit different characteristics, but very difficult to determine the difference from this. In terms of vehicle ownership before and after, the green means originally no car, meaning people who did not own a car, joined the car sharing, did not gain access to car. So they've been non-car household for the entire time. Yellow-green is gave up all cars. People who had cars, joined car sharing, decided not to own any cars. Yellow is gave up some cars. So people who had multiple cars, joined car sharing, decided to reduce the number of cars they own, but still they own at least 1 car. Orange is keep same number of cars, meaning people who had a car, joined the car sharing, did not change the number of cars they own. Dark orange, actually there are some people who increase vehicle ownership after joining car sharing, but that's a little bit not big, 2% to 4%. And as you can see here, it seems Car2Go only users and then the other, Car2Go and Modo users, they seem to have different characteristics. The majority of Car2Go users are car owners, while the majority of Modo users are non-car owners. This seems the difference, but it's a little bit difficult to tell. So I calculated the average number of vehicles per household. And then you can see the reductions in average number of vehicle ownership per household for all three groups. And I did a t-test, and that shows the reduction is statistically significant for all three groups. However, as you can see here, the reduction level was bigger for the right two groups, which means car-to-go and modo only, compared to the car-to-go only users. But again, it's a little bit difficult to quantify the difference, so I decided to conduct logistic regression analysis. If you are not too familiar with regression analysis is usually used to understand the relationship between dependent and independent variables. And in terms of sample for this analysis, I used respondents who own at least one car prior to joining car sharing. And dependent variable, I used probability that respondent would shed at least one car. And explanatory variables, I used respondents' demographics, usage and motivation to car sharing. And unfortunately, the survey did not ask anything about financial status. So there's no data about income. So I calculated rent index, which is estimated based on number of bedrooms, municipality, and length of residency in the unit, and then put into the regression. This is not direct way to reflect the financial status, but this was the closest I can go with. Then here is the result. Very difficult to see, so let me pick up one variable and then explain how to read the data. So let me focus on the variables of living in rental housings. The variable estimated number is 0.52, which is very difficult to interpret because this is logistic regression, not a linear regression. So I calculated the odds ratio, which is a little bit easier to interpret. So let me explain. People who live in rental housings are 1.69, this is odds ratio, 1.69 times more likely to shed a car compared to people who do not live in rental housings. And we have p-value, which shows a percentage of confidence. So we have 2 stars, and if you see the p-value symbols, 2 star means 99%, over 99% of confidence level that they have. Now, let's go back to the whole result, and let me focus on some variables which are very interesting to interpret. The first one is car sharing membership, because we are interested in that variable anyway. The reference level is car-to-go only, and people who had modo only, people who are using only modo, they are 4.26 times more likely to share a car compared to people who use car-to-go only. People who had double membership, modo and car-to-go, they are even more likely to share a car. They are 4.87 times more likely to share a car compared to car-to-go only users. Lengths of car sharing membership, they did not have statistically significant explanatory powers. I thought they will have, but there's no relationship. In terms of trip purpose, people who use car sharing for shopping and errands, visiting friends, family, medical appointments, or vacation trips, those people, they tend to shed car. On the other hand, people use car sharing to go into a restaurant or bar, they are less likely to shed a car. In terms of reasons to join car sharing, cost saving compared to owning, leasing a car, which had the highest odds ratio among all variables. So financial motivation is very significant to determine people who share a car, which actually makes sense. Environmental awareness is actually significant too. People who join car sharing thinking that, oh, I can reduce pollution fuel consumption via car sharing, they are 3 times more likely to share a car compared to people who do not have that motivation. Now, the survey asked another question. If car sharing service is terminated permanently, then what is your alternative mobility option? It's a little bit difficult to see, so let me focus on car-to-go only users. If car-to-go service is terminated, car-to-go users will use transit more often, or drive own vehicles more often, or use taxis more often. So it seems car-to-go is more like an additional option to make their multimodal travels easier and more convenient. On the other hand, modo members, modo-only users, if the service is terminated, they will rent a vehicle more often, or buy or lease a car, or use transit more often. So it seems modo is more like substitute for private car ownership. And now, I got very interested in actually how many cars are shared in this region by car sharing service. So I decided to calculate. I got number from survey, cars shared by car sharing and survey response, and could calculate cars shared per response. And also we know number of car sharing users and number of cars, car sharing cars. Then the result is one car-to-go car shared about 6 cars in this region, while one model car shared about 5 cars. Now the car-to-go number is very tricky because one, car-to-go and model, they have totally different membership fee system. Car-to-go requires $35 one-time registration fee, and often they waive it even. So you can be a car-to-go member without paying any money, and you can be a member for forever until you opt out. On the other hand, model, to be a co-op member, you need to pay $500 refundable. So if you want to cancel the membership, you can go and then get $500 back. Or you can be a casual membership. You need to pay $5 every month to be a member. So it seems like probably car-to-go, they have more members who are not active. They just have the membership but don't use the service. Another tricky part is response rate. We got only 7% response rate for car-to-go users, while 26% of response rate for modal users. So car-to-go only users, they are more likely, so the responses from car-to-go only users, there's a higher possibility that responses are biased. So I decided to use sampling bias and active membership ratio and then recalculate the number. There was no good information to assume the distribution of sampling bias or active membership rate. So I just said, why not pick between 0.5 to 1 randomly? And I did a Monte Carlo simulation. And the result is left-hand side. I believe I did 100 times of calculation, or maybe 200. And it's a little bit difficult to read the data, so I calculated the CDF, cumulative distribution function, of number of cards shipped by one car-to-go car. X-axis is number of cards shipped by per car-to-go car, and Y-axis is probability. So now you can see if there's no sampling bias, and if all members are active, then one car-to-go car shared 6 cars in the region. However, depending on the sampling bias and active membership rate, the number could be changed. The number is very sensitive to the 2 variables. So depending on the sampling bias and active membership rate, it can go low to 2 or 3. So now, let me summarize what I found. Both car-to-go and modal members reduce vehicle ownership. And modal members who own cars are 5 times more likely to reduce vehicle ownership. In terms of the 2 services, it seems they are providing different mobility service. And car-to-go and modal are complements. You remember there are a lot of people who use both services. And it seems modal is more like substitute. So they substitute private vehicle ownership. And the number means the average number of vehicle ownership per household. It was 0.68 before joining car sharing, before joining modal, and it became 0.36 after joining modal. On the other hand, car-to-go is more likely to provide additional mobility option. Vehicle ownership did not change that much. It reduced in a statistically significant level, but the reduction amount is not that much. It was 1.08 and then reduced to 0.98. Supportive public policy does not reflect such differences. So local governments do not consider the differences between one-way or two-way or those things. They just consider car sharing, and then one set of rules is used to manage all different car sharing services in the region. In the end, limitations. So this study, of course, has limitations. Car-to-go and modal differ along many dimensions. They are different in terms of service. One is one-way, another is two-way, but they are different in terms of the service, like starting year. Car-to-go started in 2011, modal started in 1997. And car-to-go provides 2-seaters, while modal provides a variety of cars. And car-to-go is for profit, it's under Daimler. And modal is co-op. And to join car-to-go, you need to pay $35, while you need to pay $500 to be a member of modal. So there are many differences, and one-way and two-way is one of many differences. Okay, that's all. Any questions? Yes. User base. Mm-hmm. So this one. So those numbers are from the Metro Vancouver's report. So they contacted Car2Go and Modo and asked number of cars they have in the region and the number of members they have. But I actually contacted Car2Go asking how many active members you have in the region. They didn't answer the question. Any? Sorry. I think this is the one. I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
Summary slide.
Summary slide? This one?
Yeah. So I guess that was I guess I was wondering if that's just that people who sign up to Moto are like say low income is the difference between say points and say 1.0
Right. Yeah, so let me go back to the one slide, my help. Sorry, I have too many slides. That's what might help. So the green ones are, that's a little bit difficult to explain, but yellow, green, and yellow and then orange people, they are people who own a car prior to joining car sharing. And the green are the people who did not have a car before prior to joining car sharing. So yes, people who join Modo, they tend to own fewer cars. And compared to Car2Go only users, that's yes.
So I guess what I was wondering what the implications that are in general uptake.
Reduce car use. So as we found in a regression analysis, Car2Go has, Modo has more power to reduce vehicle ownership among people who own a car. However, in a total, we have fewer people. The percentage of people who own a car among Modo is lower than Car2Go, right? That's it. However, as I stated in the last one, that's why I'm actually interested in calculating how many cars are actually sold in the region. So this is a number, right? Car2Go only, about 6 cars are shared by one Car2Go, while about 5 cars are shared by Modo only. So Modo itself has stronger power to reduce vehicle ownership among people who own a car. However, in total, actually from this table, the numbers are not that different because more people, the percentage of people who own a car among Car2Go is higher than Modo. And also, if you notice, actually, it's a little bit difficult, but the assumed number of car sharing users and number of car sharing cars. So one Car2Go car is shared by about 60 people, while Modo car, about one Modo car is shared by about 10 or 12 people. So that's different as well. However, as I showed in the sensitivity analysis, in the end, considering those sampling bias and active membership ratio, it seems one Car2Go can set about 2. I don't think it's 6 because we need to assume 100% active membership rate. It's not realistic. So it's gonna be about 3, 4, I believe. Then if we go back to this, the number is gonna be changed to 4 to 5 or 3 to 4, and Modo is 5. So in the end, okay, does that make sense? Yes. Or I thought you wanted to add comments to that.
I was going to suggest that you show the slide which is green to orange again.
Sure.
And talk about the part that really surprised us.
This one?
What was the really surprising finding on this slide?
People actually gave up all cars. We saw like Car2Go will be used as a secondary car, not the primary car. But actually the majority of people who shared a car, they actually gave up all cars they had, not as a secondary car, which was very interesting finding. Sorry, yeah. Mm-hmm. So does that mean like the car sharing was the reason why they shared a car, or? Right, so I cannot answer the question because the survey did not ask that question. However,
Actually, these are the results of them saying that they gave up a car. So it's a comparison of before and after.
Yeah.
The answer to the question.
yeah.
But when asked the reason, they gave the reason that a lot of them said that it's economics.
I don't think the survey actually asked the question directly. They didn't ask the reason why they shared a car. They asked the reason why they joined car sharing, but we cannot assume that car sharing is the only reason why they shared a car. However, I excluded people who said, I shared a car and I moved to another place. So the move, like relocation, housing relocation is the main reason why I changed vehicle ownership. I excluded those guys because putting them into the calculation is a little bit confusing. But however, still, I cannot conclude that car sharing is the only reason why they share a car. I cannot know. But this might be help. Average vehicle ownership in Vancouver has been stable during the survey period. So only people who use car sharing reduce number of cars they own. Might answer some of the questions. Yeah. Yes. Sorry. That's very interesting. I did not think about it. I did not think about it, but it's very interesting that we found this in Vancouver. And Vancouver has the highest car sharing adoption level in world. So other cities might follow Vancouver and might have similar result. Like cities which have both one way and two ways, they might face similar issues and they might need to actually change the regulation considering the differences among car sharing services. But yeah, that's the only thing I thought about it, but I will think about it more. Thank you. Sorry, Maya.
Also, as someone who gets policy, but you were saying that there's only one policy for car sharing and not
Mm-hmm.
So what would you suggest for the city of Vancouver if they wanted to what specific policy?
Right. So the interesting thing is happening in Seattle and then, sorry, I always confuse to pronounce this name, Munich? In, yeah, the German city. The two cities are doing very interesting thing. So they allow car sharing companies to come in and start their service, but they let them agree on one thing. The car sharing companies need to share data with the local government every year. They need to report about their users and then how many cars they have and then how many users share your car, those things. Munich case, they actually have access to the all car sharing data. And Seattle case is that each car sharing company need to summarize, like make a report and submit to the local government. So that is the first step, I think. The survey is done in 2013. The data is getting old. And we got new car sharing service, Evo. We do not know anything about the new service. If we had such agreement, if Metro Vancouver or City of Vancouver had that agreement with car sharing service, everything gonna be much easier, I think. Is that answering your question? Okay. Yes.
More of a comment you know the answer already, but the reason why people with children use two-way car on probably the
Yes. It is technically possible to put child seat in car-to-go vehicle, two-seater. I actually checked regulation. So if a car has only two-seaters, then it's okay to put child seat in the front. Like, but
how about car to go? You take it one way.
yeah, and you need to carry it. I think.
Like the car seat
Yeah, that's one. Yeah.
I mean, people
Yes, one way, and then they do not have child seat. Yes.
It would be nice if, when we were in Quebec, we used the car sharing system,
Comioto.
and we could install, anyway, we could rent a car that has that.
Yes. Yeah. Comioto is actually the first car sharing service started in Canada, and then they do those services. They have more wheelchair access cars and then those child seat equipped cars. So maybe Vancouver car sharing can learn from Comioto, definitely. Yes. Sorry. Sorry.
Thank you, Michiko.
Thank you.